I want to walk you through a piece of thinking. Notice how sound it feels, because it is probably your thinking too. The guest room sits empty 11 months a year. Nobody sleeps there. And yet all through July, the cool air I pay good money for pours out of that little ceiling vent into a room nobody enters, cooling the dust. So I walk in, reach up, flip the little lever on the register, close the louvers, and walk out feeling like a careful man. Why cool an empty room? Fewer rooms to cool, less work for the machine, a smaller bill. It is the same thinking as turning off a light in an empty room, and that thinking is right about lights. It is wrong about vents. Closing registers in an ordinary house does not tell the system to rest. It adds resistance to the same connected ductwork. You may save nothing at all. You can lose airflow, raise pressure in the ducts, drive more air through existing leaks, and, in a badly restricted system, help set up the conditions for a frozen coil during the hottest week of the year. And the reason is one hidden assumption in that perfectly good reasoning. An assumption so natural you never noticed you made it. You assumed the fan knows the room is closed. It does not. That little lever sends no message to the equipment. A fan that does not know cannot choose to rest. It can only meet the restriction you put in its path. One bit of housekeeping. My free guide to 15 simple fixes, each costing $1 or less, is linked below if you would like a copy. Now, back to the machine. Here is what is actually on the other side of that little lever. Your cooling system is, at its heart, one blower moving air through one connected tree of ducts. It pushes conditioned air out through the supply registers into your rooms and pulls room air back through the return grills to be cooled again. One blower, one tree, one loop. That system is set up around a target airflow and a certain amount of resistance, with the registers generally open. That is its designed job, like a horse fitted to a particular cart. Now flip the lever and understand what you have done. You did not tell the fan anything. There is no message in that lever. No wire runs from the register to the equipment. You simply narrowed one branch of the tree. What happens next depends on the blower. Some move less air as resistance rises. Constant airflow blowers may increase their effort within their limits to keep the air moving. Neither response is the rest you imagined. One gives the system less air. The other asks the blower to push harder. The trade has a name for the pressure the fan works against: static pressure. Here is the sentence to keep. Every register you close adds resistance to the air path. That can raise pressure in the ducts, reduce total airflow, or do some of both. You have not taken a room away from the system. You have made the system's path tighter. Think of a garden hose running free and easy. Now put your thumb over half the opening. The pressure rises behind your thumb. The open part sprays harder, and the flow changes. Nothing was switched off. You did not close a door. You squeezed a hose. Air and water are not identical, but the lesson is useful. A closed register does not make an ordinary duct system smaller. It makes the path more restrictive. If the workings behind the walls interest you the way they interest me, like the video and subscribe. There is one useful home skill here every week. I built the whole argument small enough for a bench, and I want you to watch it happen. Here is a box duct made from cardboard and tape, with one small fan pushing air in at one end and 4 outlet holes along the top. Those are my 4 rooms. Over every hole I have taped a light paper streamer so the air can show itself. I have also fitted a simple clear tube pressure gauge near the fan. It is not a calibrated test of your house. It is a model that lets us see what restriction does. Fan on. Look, 4 streamers, all lifting, all moving about the same. The air has 4 open paths out of the box. Look at the pressure gauge too, and remember where the colored water sits. Now I close one room. A flap of cardboard over the first hole, my empty guest room. Watch the other 3 streamers, but watch the gauge as well. Some air crowds toward the opening still available, and the pressure near the fan rises. The fan was not told to slow down. We simply removed one of its paths. Close the second hole. The pressure rises again. Depending on the fan, the 2 remaining streamers may stand harder for a time, or the total air leaving the box may begin to fall. Both are possible. The part that does not change is the restriction. The tree keeps shrinking while the fan is still connected to the whole box. Now close a third. 3 empty rooms shut like a careful person. 1 room left. Look at that last streamer, and look at the gauge. The sound of the fan may change, but sound alone does not tell us how much electricity it is using or how hard its motor is working. The pressure gauge tells us what we can prove here. The restriction in front of the fan has increased. The 4-room system did not become an efficient 1-room system. It became a 4-outlet box with 3 blocked exits. And now the part of the demonstration that can cost money in a real house. Feel along this taped seam. With all 4 holes open, there is barely a flutter. Cover 3 holes, raise the pressure inside the box, and more air pushes through the weak joint. Your real ducts have joints and seams too, sometimes running through an attic, crawl space, garage, or other place you never meant to cool. The amount of leakage depends on how well those ducts are sealed. But if a gap already exists, more pressure across that gap can drive more air through it. That is, conditioned air you paid for that never reaches any room. Open all 4 holes again. Watch the pressure settle. Watch the streamers share the flow. The box is back to the condition it was built around. That is all the demonstration needs to show. An open path lets the system move air. A blocked path turns some of that movement into pressure and may reduce the total airflow. Now carry the box back to your real house, because in the real machine, the restriction has 2 more places to bite, and one of them can stop your cooling in a July week. The first is the blower itself. With many older blowers, airflow falls as the duct resistance rises. Some newer constant airflow motors try to compensate by increasing speed and power until they reach their limit. So I will not tell you that every blower uses more electricity each time one register moves. The exact response depends on the motor and its controls. What I can tell you is this. Extra restriction pushes the system away from the airflow it was set up to deliver. That can mean less airflow, more blower effort, more noise, or some combination of the 3. It is not rest. The second bite is the cold coil, and this is the one to respect. Inside your system sits the indoor coil, the part that absorbs heat from the air. It is designed around one important condition. A proper stream of warm room air must pass across it while the system runs. That moving air carries the cooling into the house, and it also helps keep the coil within its intended temperature range. Choke the airflow far enough and the coil can become too cold. Moisture from the air begins to freeze onto it. Ice blocks the airflow further, which makes more ice, and the problem feeds itself. The end of that road can be a coil wrapped in ice with little or no cool air reaching the rooms on the hottest day of the year. One closed vent does not automatically freeze a coil. The risk depends on how many paths are restricted, how the ducts were built, how clean the filter and coil are, how the blower responds, and how close the system already was to its airflow limit. But low airflow is a well-known road to coil icing, and closed registers can add to that restriction. One sentence for winter, since the same tree often carries your heat. If too little air passes across a furnace heat exchanger, the furnace can run too hot and trip its high-limit safety. Repeated overheating is not something to ignore. So one restricted tree can create several costs: less useful airflow, more leakage through existing gaps, extra blower effort in systems that try to compensate, and greater strain on equipment that depends on proper airflow. That is what the little lever can buy. Here is the plain care of an ordinary system, and none of it costs a thing. First, leave the supply registers open as the normal setting. Do not use individual room registers as homemade zoning. If one room truly gets a little too much air, a small comfort adjustment may be reasonable if the equipment instructions allow it. That is different from sealing off rooms as an energy plan. If one room is always too warm, while another is always too cold, mention it to a technician at the next service. Proper balancing is a craft, and they have tools that can measure airflow and pressure instead of guessing at the levers. Second, and folks miss this one wholesale, the returns. Those are the larger grills that do not blow but breathe in. They are the other half of the loop, the path that brings air back to the equipment. The fan must be allowed to inhale if it is going to exhale. Returns get blocked innocently all the time. A bookcase is moved in front of a wall grill. A couch is backed against one. Heavy curtains hang across it. In a house with one central return in the hallway, a bedroom door shut tight all day can also restrict the path back from that room. A room with its own return, a transfer grill, or another designed return path may behave differently. The practical check is simple. Expose the whole face of every return grill and do not assume a closed interior door is harmless when the room has no clear path back. Third, the filter. That filter normally sits somewhere in the return side of the system, which means the system's air must pass through it before reaching the blower and coil. It is not a little accessory. A filter loaded with dust adds resistance just as surely as a blocked grill does. Use the size and filter type your equipment is meant to accept. Follow the equipment and filter instructions for replacement. During the heavy seasons, take a look once a month, especially if you have pets, construction dust, smoke, or other heavy loading. Change it when it is visibly loaded or when the specified interval arrives. Open supplies, clear returns, a clean filter. 3 habits, no tools, and the fan gets the one thing it needs from you: an open path through the tree. Now the honest exception, because you may know a house where rooms do get shut off on purpose and everything works fine. I do not want you calling your brother-in-law a fool without the full story. There are systems built for exactly that: zoned systems. Motorized dampers open and close inside the ducts under the direction of thermostats and controls. Here is the difference in one line. A properly designed zoned system closes branches and manages the equipment response as one coordinated act. The blower settings, duct layout, controls, and pressure strategy are designed to work together. Depending on the system, that may include variable capacity equipment, blower control, carefully sized ducts, or another engineered way to protect airflow as zones change. The closing and the machine know about each other. Your lever on the guest room register knows nothing and tells nothing. That is the entire distinction. Zoning is a designed conversation between the rooms and the equipment. A closed register is a secret kept from a fan that cannot afford secrets. If you want true room-by-room control, that is a real thing. It is designed and installed as a system, not improvised one lever at a time. And the limits of the subject, stated plain. Everything today has been habits and understanding from outside the machine. Nothing in this video opens the furnace or air handler, and neither should you. Leave the panels on. Inside that cabinet are line voltage, moving parts, components that may retain an electrical charge, and in a gas furnace, combustion equipment. The outside habits are yours. The inside is the technician's. Know the signs that say the trouble has moved beyond habits. If you see frost or ice on the visible refrigerant line, or if you smell something burning while the blower runs, turn the system off and call a qualified technician. If the flow from every register has become weak, or if the house stays badly unbalanced after the registers, returns, and filter are clear, have the system checked. Those are not problems to solve with another guess at a vent lever. And I promise no numbers today, no percent savings, and no dollar figure. Every house, climate, system, and duct tree is its own animal. Anyone who promises an exact result for your house without seeing your house is promising more than the facts allow. What I can promise is the direction. A duct system needs enough open path to deliver its intended airflow. Added restriction does not create free zoning, and it does not give an ordinary blower permission to rest. Let me leave you with the idea underneath this, because the vents were never really the whole subject. The reasoning we started with, close off what you are not using, fails here for one reason. It treats the house as a pile of separate rooms, and the house is not a pile. Behind the walls, every room is joined to one loop of moving air. One blower, one tree, one breath. There is no such thing as doing something to only one room. Close a vent in the guest room, and the fan feels the restriction at the equipment. The ducts feel the pressure along their seams. The coil feels the change in airflow. Other rooms feel a different share. You cannot squeeze one part of a connected thing and expect the rest not to notice. A house is closer to a body than a cupboard. You do not save effort by pinching one of its veins. And once you hold that idea, you hold something bigger than vents, because it is true of more things than air. Most of the systems that keep a home running are loops, not piles. The careful-looking move that pinches one spot can quietly tax the whole. The genuinely thrifty man is not the one who shuts the most doors. He is the one who learns which things are connected. So tell me in the comments, and be honest, how many supply registers were fully closed in your house before today? Take one walk through the rooms, then look for a return hidden by a bookcase, couch, or curtain. Tell me the number you found. I read every one. If you would like to keep another good thing running sweet with me next week, subscribe, and you will find your way back. Until then, remember, the fan cannot rest because a room is empty. It can only move air through the path the house gives it. Leave the supplies open, let the returns breathe, keep the filter clean, and let the machine do the job it was built to do. God keep you, friend. We will talk again.